Hello and welcome along to the Zwift Cast, the community podcast from Zwift. I'm Rebecca Charlton. Alongside me is my co-host Dave Towle, and we are delighted to be back with all the latest news and updates from the world that makes indoor cycling fun. Coming up today on the Zwift Cast, we get the lowdown on the conclusion of the Zwift Academy 2025. Friend of Zwift and all-round thoroughly lovely chap, Matt Stevens, drops in for a chat. And we hear from the two Zwift Academy winners fresh from receiving their coveted 2025 crowns. But first, many of us have been following along, of course, with the brilliant coverage of the Zwift Academy. And after watching the finalists being put through their paces, we have now witnessed our deserving winners crowned for 2025. Now, Matt Stevens has been close to the action as ever, and I caught up with him to get his thoughts on those finals. Matt, welcome back to the pod. How are you doing? How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
So last time we had a chat, you were under a very strict embargo over all topics at Zwift Academy because you had been lurking behind the scenes, getting the scoop, but you couldn't share it. But today we're going to get all the gossip. But firstly, I'd just love to give a little bit of context to listeners joining us today on ZA. And I guess it's history and just how powerful it has been, because in a nutshell, it's been a performance-based competition that at the end of it rewards the winner with a pro cycling contract, which you just can't get away from saying how huge that is, can you?
Yeah, no, it's been around a while now. We started off with the Women's Zwift Academy, and you're quite right. In its infancy, it was only on the women's side, and it was a couple of years in, we did one, or Zwift did one for the men's as well. There's nothing quite like it in the world of cycling, and actually nothing quite like it in the world of sport, really. And the seed of the idea came from Eric Min, the CEO of Zwift, looking at the sort of GTA model where people playing Grand Theft Auto or similar games, you can learn a lot from the skills on a game, eye-hand coordination in terms of gaming like that. And players were rewarded with a professional contract to drive race cars. And so Eric wanted to do something in the cycling world, which is obviously very, very different because it's physical. Although there are skills, it's completely different. But here we are, nearly a decade later. It's something that a lot of people know about, and it's a reality. And there's some very well established riders now in the pro peloton that have been discovered because of the Zwift Academy, and we continue to get lots and lots of like hundreds of thousands of people applying for this. Not everybody can get the contract. There's only one contract, of course, that can be won. But what it does is inspire people to get fitter. And it is now a new pathway to discovering talent. And the feedback we've got from both of the teams, Alps and De Koning for the men now, the development team, and obviously Canyon SRAM, the generations team is where the riders will go to first, is that the net can be cast so wide now because of Zwift's global reach, is that we are definitely getting riders through that might not otherwise have had the opportunity. So it's basically another way of discovering talent using Zwift. A lot of the riders we get now are quite experienced on the road as well, but still it's another opportunity to find out how talented these people are. And I think year on year, as this talent pool gets deeper and deeper and the net is spread wider and wider, we are discovering riders of extreme talent.
And I feel like it's really evolved, as you'd expect as well. I feel like, year one looked a little bit different. And then I feel like each year there was an introduction of a different way of testing people towards the final, just to make sure like every box had been ticked in picking the right winner. Were there any changes this year to the format?
There were some changes, I believe, although I'm not directly involved in that. There were some changes and tweaks in relation to the early stages before we got through to our finalists. Stephen Gallagher and Dan Fleeman, both riders that I know very well, ex-professionals. They work for Dig Deep Coaching. They're the coaches for the Canyon SRAM team and part of the judging and coaching setup across both the men's and women's Zwift Academy finalists. And they've been part of the ZA process for a few years now. They basically set up the program, that they set the structure of the program, and year on year are tweaking it. And they do that in consultation with the teams a little bit as well, especially in relation to the sorts of riders that the teams may want. And as this procedure has changed over the years, it's not just the talent identification. These riders who reach the final and ultimately get a pro contract need to fit into a team and have a purpose. And that can change, of course, during the process as well. You might discover somebody that is a real raw talent, or somewhere. Do you want somebody raw who you can actually mold a little bit and develop, or do you want somebody that's a little bit more nearer the finished article? And actually, do we need a certain sort of rider in our team? Do we need somebody who's going to be good at leading out, for example, or a classics rider or a sprinter? Or do we want more of an all-rounder, or do we want a pure climber? And so they can actually tailor and tweak the process and the training schedule and the task set for the riders within Zwift to accommodate that. So I do understand, speaking to Dan and Stephen, I don't know the secret sauce exactly, but I do know that year on year there's been some tweaks. And in 2024, there were some new tweaks as well, looking at particular aspects of the riders' physiology. Importantly, I believe it was rather than like a 20-minute power number, for example, they were looking at shorter periods of higher power, which apparently are becoming more and more important in modern day racing. So we're looking at like a 2-3 minute power, for example, rather than a longer, steadier state. So they're drilling deeper and deeper down into what these riders can do based on what riders need to be able to do in the real world, in a professional bike race, be it men's or women's. The demands have changed.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me, actually. And like you say, it is one thing seeing somebody with an exceptional talent or power, and actually whether that translates, as we've seen over the years, onto the road. And we've seen the right decision in so many of these riders that have gone on to the very dizzy heights, which we'll touch upon more in a moment. But in terms of the final, you being there year after year and witnessing it, how tough, are the paces that these finalists have to go through?
It's tougher and tougher. It's quite a short period of time. It's only 4 days each. Meaning and bearing in mind, these riders have come from the other side of the world. We generally get a lot of riders seemingly year on year from the other side of the world, Australia, New Zealand. So they've got Canada, for example, this year as well. So riders have traveled a long way to get to where they are. So they've got a day or so to acclimatise. And then they really are put through their paces. So there's their workouts on Zwift, so basically an FTP or a ride to exhaustion very, very early on. They'll do a ramp test. Then they're put through their paces out on the road. There will be lactate threshold tests as well, which is something that's been introduced over the last couple of years. Most days there'll be there's 2 things to do, 2 workouts. Generally, sometimes there's 2 outdoors, sometimes there's a Zwift race and a long endurance session. But importantly, the riders won't know until the morning what they're doing. So they go to bed exhausted on one particular day, and then they don't know what they're doing till the morning. So they've got to cope with that. So it's not just the physical paces that they're being put through. There's the mental side. Generally, that there's a lot of nerves, there's a lot of anxiety. It's how they cope with that. And it's how they cope through that, how they present themselves through that as well. I mean, a lot of these riders are very, very young. They're immature just because they're sort of 18, 19, 20, 21 years of age in a lot of cases. A lot of them are living at home with their parents. They're in a different part of the world in an alien environment, and they're being examined. They're physically being looked at, forensically examined. They're looking at their personality. The squads are looking at how this person put the physical bits to one side, for example, how they fit into a team environment. So there's a lot that they're basically under the microscope. So that in itself is very, very stressful. So it's stressful physically and it's stressful mentally. And in addition to that, as we know, because we can watch them, they're being filmed as well for our entertainment, because it is such a fascinating process. So there is a lot to cope with.
And can you briefly tell us about, you've touched upon what your role is in terms of you've been involved for many, many years now, but in a practical sense, how does that look? Because I remember you telling me a few years back that, the riders would actually start coming and confiding in you, and you've got obviously such a wealth of experience and knowledge in this sport going back so far. Do you have an opportunity to really feel that connection with the riders when you're just kind of observing how those finals are going?
You do. Maybe for me, slightly less so this year. but still, so my role this year, just to put it into perspective, I was there more of an observer for Zwift to help with the social media, but also to commentate on the Zwift races, which is, of course, a massively important part, just to add some atmosphere to the big Zwift races, which were massively important and intriguing, because you really can see how deep riders go during that process. But yeah, you're around. Because I was injured this year, I didn't go out on the bikes, but previous years, for as long as I can remember, I've been out on the bikes with these riders as well. And that's when you really get to know them. And that's when you can form this bond. So that, and they will start to confide, because they're there away from home. The relatives, their partners, the boyfriends, the girlfriends aren't there. They form relationships with their fellow competitors, but ultimately they're there to beat them. So there's only so many people you can actually talk to. So you do lend an ear. You have to remain neutral to a degree, but these riders have really been put through the ringer. And when I say riders, these are people, that they're people with emotions. And so you are there for them. So you do get a little bit attached, and you're there as part of support as well. And also you can pick up on body language, and you can pick up on a lot of the NVCs when riders are a little bit upset, a little bit down, and you can just be there to reassure them. I think it's just another ear to lend some neutral support to them, especially when things are tough, just to pick them up after a performance that they might be a little bit disappointed with, and to remind them as well, which is the thing that we always go back to, is to put the whole Zwift Academy into context. We know the numbers. Over 100,000 Zwifters every year apply for this, and the numbers going up year on year on year. And to reach the final, you're at the very, very top. You're only 4 finalists, in this year. So when you remind them of that and put that into perspective, they've actually achieved something just by getting to the final. So to remind them of that is important. And also, in previous years, I've been a conduit as well to inform the coaches and the team on little bits that I've seen out on the road, which might not necessarily be picked up by the cameras, about the way they conduct themselves on the bike, their skills on descents, etc., how comfortable they might look, how natural they might appear. So just some of the smaller details that might not necessarily come across through the normal process, I can actually help feed that back.
And let's finally get on to those finals. How close fought was it for the victory in the men's and women's this year?
I think if we stick with the men's first, for no particular reason, but Noah Ramsey of Canada was the winner, and it was pretty close between him and Matteo Gaffuri, a previous finalist. Matteo, the young Italian rider, graveler as well. It was pretty close between those two. Again, I didn't get to hear all of the coaches' conversations. I kind of wish I had been a fly on the wall in some of those, but I did get a sense that it was going to be between those two. That's not to take anything away from Freddie and Elliot, two real talents, of course. To get this far is amazing, but it was very close. And speaking to the folks from Zwift that were there, speaking to Dan, who was there for the men's final, it was difficult to call. We had an idea, and I think from maybe day 2, we thought that I thought personally it was going to be between Noah and Matteo, and it went down to the wire. And you could see from the final announcement, firstly, the joy on Noah's face and the disappointment on Matteo's face, because I think it's fair to say that he'd got it, and had learned, and was at an advantage, you could say, from being in the final previously. Didn't know exactly what was going to be thrown at him, of course, because each year is different, but knew roughly what would be asked of him. Noah, he just looks like a brilliant bike rider, comes from mountain biking, but if you didn't know that, you'd think he was a road rider already. He's not the finished article by any means, but he's a rider of real capacity. His numbers are world class. His bike handling skills are very, very good. He's a fierce competitor. He's bright. He's intelligent. He listens. He's confident. But I think he's going to fit in real well with the team. But I know that it was quite a difficult decision between him and Matteo.
And what about on the women's side?
Well, it was incredible again, but quite, I think it's fair to say, a dominant win, really. After just a few days, I think it became quite clear, not taking anything away from the other finalists, that this young woman is going to go far. Emily Dixon of Australia, 17 years of age when she won, okay? She only turned 18, Rebecca, on the 29th of December, okay? So 18 years of age. She's first year under 23, and she is now going to be with Canyon SRAM Generations team. And what a force of nature. the thing that struck me about Emily, I had to double check with the guys at the camp that she was actually 17, because she just was so mature, so kind-spirited, spoke really well, and fitted in with the team. And that's one of the things that we always talk about, that maybe we don't talk about enough, is the fact that the riders in the team are fully invested in this. It's not just the coaching staff and the management that make the decisions here. It's in consultation to an increasing extent down to the potential teammates, of course. And we have the Canyon SRAM World Tour team riders here and the Canyon SRAM Generations team here as well. So they all had opportunities to ride with the finalists and get to know them and get to see what they were like. So as well as her physical attributes, she came across as very, very mature. She's got an old head on very young shoulders. And we were just talking about it before we recorded this. She's already achieved a lot as a junior. She was 23rd in the World Championships in Switzerland, representing Australia. So she's got the chops, as it were, and she proved it on the road and on Zwift. Very, very skillful, looked great on the descents. And there was a couple of rides where I followed behind in the car. I wish I was on the bike, but I wasn't, where I followed behind, and she just looked great on a bike. Easily followed the pros on the descents. So from a technical perspective, was very good, would easily transfer across into a professional peloton, which is obviously crucial. Still with stuff to learn, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. But physically, I know Stephen Gallagher and Dan Fleeman were like, wow. I mean, they knew that from the off anyway. When the four finalists from the men's and women's get into the final, they know the numbers are good. But Emily's in particular were very good, and she just proved that in all of the tests, bar one or two, came out on top. So it was a dominant win. I mean, honourable mentions to Annabelle, Tasha, and Emma as well, who got stuck in. But the thing that spoke volumes for me, and you'd have seen it now because obviously we know the result. You'd have seen it. Hopefully, if you haven't, make sure you do watch it. Was the reaction of the other finalists when the announcement was made? All of them immediately turned to Emily and gave her a hug. There was no like, oh, they were obviously, of course, disappointed inside, but they knew that the best had won, and it was just totally unambiguous. It was if there was a vote, I think it was unanimous. And also the gracious way in which Emily spoke afterwards. She gave a little speech, and that's quite rare. Normally, the finalists who win are a little bit dumbfounded, and it takes a while to compose themselves, and they never really do a speech. But Emily did a speech, and it was touching, and I was welling up. So she's a lovely young woman with a great deal of potential, and I think the team are lucky to have her. So it was just brilliant.
Because I was going to say, I can't even imagine at 17 years of age, your dream coming true like that. It's absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to see what happens next with both of those winners. Matt, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Right on.
Dave, you had the pleasure of catching up with our winners to get their thoughts on this huge feat. Let's hear first from Emily Dixon.
Right on.
All right. Well, we find Emily Dixon in Spain, already finding success. I don't want to bury the lead, Emily, but welcome to the Zwiftcast. It's great to have you with us.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, there's so many interesting things about your story, Emily, and I'm just going to jump right in with the fact that you're so young. We talk about the opportunities and the global aspect of this sport, but you're basically as young as a world tour rider could be. What kind of what impact does that have on your mindset in this whole journey? I mean, it's got to feel good being young.
Oh, yeah. I guess, yeah, you could say it feels good. That's one way of saying. It's pretty, it just feels a bit like surreal. I didn't think I'd be in this position where I'm just 18 and in this kind of have this opportunity. So, yeah, it's super surreal.
So when we talk with folks in the Academy through the years, there's a real wide spectrum. Some folks have been avid Zwifters and others, Zwift has been a tool that maybe they've used. But in your case, I was reading that your dad was Zwifting quite a bit. You got into it during lockdown there during COVID. So you must have been, let's say, 15 16 years old when you started Zwifting. So my question was going to be, how did you first hear about Zwift Academy? But you're part of the Zwift community through and through, aren't you?
Yeah, Zwift is where I started. So in COVID lockdowns, which Melbourne had a lot of, it was my kind of outlet to getting my energy out because I don't like to sit still. So yeah, I've always heard of the Zwift Academy, especially Neve Bradbury and Jay Vine, who've followed the Zwift Academy through and now are winning world tour stages. So yeah, I've always been familiar with it, but I always thought I was a bit young for it. So yeah.
You played a sport called netball, which not many folks in at least my part of the world would know much about netball. But Zwift sort of, exactly as you were saying, gave you an outlet for your energy. Did you find yourself ahead of the curve? Did you have tremendous success on the bike right away? Or was it, really hard and not easy path?
I don't think it's ever an easy path. If it is easy, I don't think you're working hard enough. But yeah, I definitely found it I first just started on Zwift, so just doing workouts and a couple hours every day on there. But I think definitely transitioning onto the side was a bit of a challenge for me, just because I'm a bit scared sometimes. I mean, I guess everyone has their fears, but yeah, I think for me, handling the bike was something that was a little bit more challenging for me because I came from a Zwift pathway. But I thought, I think I was quite strong coming out of COVID, but then I had to also build on my bike handling skills to be able to race confidently and be in the race as well. So that was one of my challenges, but yeah, definitely have worked on it, I think, yeah.
That's not a challenge that you're alone in. What are your tips for someone who's really ridden on Zwift a lot? I mean, you jumped into the very deep end of the pool in Australia as Tour Down Under happens, and I saw you had a top 25 GC ride there. If you can ride top 25 at a World Tour race like Tour Down Under, you clearly can handle your bike. So I'm going to say you are now a certified expert in this topic.
Oh,
so
no.
go from being good on Zwift to being, a good bike managing and bike driver.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't call myself an expert, but thank you. Yeah, it's something I actually really struggled at Tour Down Under with. I know not people would think that from the results, but definitely stepping up from juniors to World Tour, I learned a lot in that race. And I can definitely say one thing I learned was just to never, I think, miss opportunities, as in if you see a wheel and just go for it. Don't question, oh, should I go with that wheel, or oh, I don't want to be on this side of the peloton, I want to be on, just go for it and assess the situation on the wheel. I think for me, I tend to take a little bit more time sometimes, and I look and I go, I want to go up the left side, but this person's going up the right. I mean, you just got to take the wheel, and you just got to be confident in your ability to be strong and hold the wheel, because I mean, especially if you're on Zwift, you're probably going to be pretty strong. There's some very strong people on Zwift. So yeah, just trust yourself and don't question. I think I second guess a lot. So something I'm learning to just go for it and not think about it too much.
I like your mindset, Emily, kind of if you're not playing the game, you're getting played, right?
Yeah.
You just constantly have to be at it.
Yeah. If you're not moving forward, you're out the back.
I really enjoyed your energy on the broadcast on GCN. I mean, I enjoyed everybody's energy from the group, but you really stood out. And also your relationship with Annabelle. Do you see yourself staying in touch with her as time goes on? She'll find her way into the World Tour, won't she?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm so excited to watch her development as well. She's very experienced, and that's something I definitely learned from during the Zwift Academy. It's actually funny you say that, because I actually saw her out riding not yesterday, but the day before. And yeah, we've kept in contact. So we're gonna organise to go for a ride soon, or maybe for a coffee or something. But yeah, it's nice to see her also still chasing her dreams as well, because I think she's got so much potential. So I hope that even from the Zwift Academy, that she, that teams can see that, because she's very strong and she has a lot of potential. So yeah, I hope we can kind of grow together.
I love that you remain her advocate, or are her advocate, I should say.
I wish her all the best. I really do.
And it shows. It really does. You're a genuine person. All right, let's just say you just turned 18 years old. You're a fan of the sport, right? You're not just an athlete, but you're someone who enjoys cycling. I'm sure maybe I don't know if you would call them colleagues or heroes or some combination of that. How are you managing, I don't know, being a little starstruck? Are you in the peloton?
Yeah, 100%. Like at Tour Down Under with I'm riding with people who I've always watched on the TV and I've looked up to, and now I'm there with them. I know I'm not I wasn't racing with them because I feel like I was at the back a lot, but just being in the peloton and looking forward and seeing them is pretty damn cool.
I can only imagine some, young Americans that have gone over and raced in Europe, and they talk about the Dutch women and the mindset of racing, and you kind of have to give it like you get it, right? I mean, if they're going to chop you, if you don't chop them back, they're just going to keep chopping you. How hard has it been for you to kind of learn that, stand up for yourself and be tough, but without being too aggressive?
Yeah, I'm definitely not super aggressive. Or I hope not. But I can be a bit timid sometimes. So I've definitely learned, if they give you a shoulder, they give you an elbow, just give it back, and they'll kind of go, okay, she's not going to take it too much. But if you kind of just let them push you, they'll just see you as they'll just keep doing.
I mean, that applies to regular life too, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you got to be true to yourself and believe in yourself.
So you're a young woman that has come into cycling at such an interesting time. The sport has, and I'm sure you read and you hear about the history of the last 100 years, maybe the last 20 years, even the last 10 years. How excited are you that your career is lining up with Tour de France Femme avec Zwift almost perfectly, right? I don't expect that you get to, I don't know, maybe you get to ride it in your debut here as a debutante World Tour rider. That would be pretty incredible for sure. But I'm not betting against you. I don't think anybody is, Emily. But that event lining up with your start of your career couldn't be much more perfect, could it?
No, not at all. Yeah, I remember actually when I first started cycling, and it was actually just a one-day race, I think. And to see the progression with, I guess, also the addition of Zwift as a sponsor, they've put so much belief, and all the money they've put into it has really, really just lifted it so much. And it's so exciting to see it improving each year, and the quality as well of the peloton is improving. They're getting so damn strong. So it's so exciting to be a part. I won't be a part of that this year or maybe next year or the year after that, but it's definitely something that I'm excited to hopefully one day be a part of. And yeah, I can only see it getting better and better each year.
I think life really, Emily, is a big part of it is always having something to be passionate about and look forward to, right? And that holds true for women around the globe. I saw you talking about the opportunities and how scarce they are in this world. And it even becomes more scarce when you look at riders from non-European countries that aren't completely saturated with the love for cycling. Although, I would argue that Australia, pound for pound, ounce for ounce, might be one of the most sport-passionate countries on the planet, if not the most. But that being said, you had an opportunity to meet some riders like Zoe Backstead, but I'm really thinking about Maddie LaRue, to tell you the truth. If you think it's tough for an Australian, what about a South African? Right. And what did you get to learn from her? It looked like she really connected with the crew of riders there.
Yeah, well, she's so lovely. It's actually really nice because I'm sharing an apartment with her now, and she always takes on the motherly role, and she's the first person here to show me around. And I guess, she's very genuine, and I think that's just such a big quality that you can have that's so inspiring as well to people. And I can see all the work she puts in, and it makes me want to do the same. And very inspiring kind of person.
It's interesting, isn't it, Emily? Because she's not really that much older than you, but that 1 year of experience she has it's like dog years or something. It's like 7 years or 20 years of knowledge that she has. Tapping into that without being a pest must be a challenge, right?
Yeah, no, she's always so open to questions, and she's always, told me if you need anything, just ask me. And at the Zwift Academy, she was always, and all the other girls were always so open to just open to questions, and always providing there to provide advice. And they're a great resource, my teammates, and also just any people who've been in the sport for a while are so experienced. They're the best resource because they actually have that experience.
Yeah, so you as a person, we've gotten to know you as a cyclist. And so I look at that test you took after that 5-hour ride and the numbers that you put up. It's really mind-blowing. But what about you as a person? Like, what passions do you hold outside of cycling? What's important to you when you wake up in the morning? What do you look at on the internet that you care about?
Oh, it's a good question. I really like just being, I love going outside, like just exploring. I mean, it's really cool to be able to just walk down the street now and just look at all the shops. I like to see different cultures and stuff as well. It's very different in Spain as it is to Australia, and I'm loving it. I love like new things. Although it did take me an hour at the grocery store the other day because I didn't understand any of it, and I was just walking up and down aimlessly the aisles. But yeah, I like change. So yeah, it's kind of fun. I see it as a challenge, but yeah, it's cool.
I love that you get to have this experience, and thank you so much for your time. This will be our final question for you, and it's going to be a little bit on the heavy side, Emily. This has been a lighthearted interview, but we talked about Annabelle, and we talked about opportunities. Focused on racing, would you have been able to? Heartbreak would have set in if you hadn't have won this opportunity. Do you see yourself, would you have been racing just as hard to try to get into the world tour, or would it have really impacted your life in a sad way?
It's a really interesting question, actually. And I definitely, it sounds like I don't want to sound up myself or anything, but I do really feel for the girls who were at the other finalists. Because if I was in that position, I could imagine it could be very hard to not hear your name. And I was like thinking that was going to be me as well. And I think especially like it's such a big thing, like you fly over there, like for me it took, and for Emma as well, and for, like it took a day to get over, and it's such a big travel thing, and you're over there and there's all the cameras and everything, and I think, yeah, it would have been very tough. But yeah, I think I didn't really know this would be a possibility for me, so I guess I always wanted to go world tour, but like it's very hard, as you said, for non-European countries to kind of see that step. It's like a bridge that a lot of people don't have, that is to the world tour and like to also like racing in Europe. It was going to be hard. I think I was going to have to fund a lot by myself and just do like a few little blocks a year. But yeah, definitely would have still been wanting end goal, but it maybe would have been a little bit harder to see actual pathway there.
Yeah, life's path, it can be crazy. So I said it would be the last question. This will be the final part. How old were you when you realized being a professional cyclist is a possibility for yourself? Was it early in when you started Zwifting and saw good numbers?
Oh, definitely not. I mean, I didn't really know much about the numbers. I didn't have a coach when I first started, so I kind of just did it for fun. Like, I didn't kind of do it for fun. I did it for fun. But yeah, I think not even, I think only until like I was selected for Zwift Academy that I thought that it could actually be a possibility. It was kind of always a dream, but I didn't really think it would actually be a possibility until now.
I think that's a great place to wrap this up, Emily, but I do want to say keep it fun. That is clearly a core part of your success.
Otherwise, you can't have success.
Thanks for your time, Emily.
Thank you so much, Dave. Really appreciate it.
Right on.
I loved that conversation. But next up, before we go any further, let's hear from our winner in the men's competition. Here's Dave now with Noah Ramsey.
What a great opportunity to sit down with the freshly minted Zwift Academy winner, Noah Ramsey. Noah, thanks so much for your time. I can only imagine there's a little bit of pressure around being on podcasts and all the media exposure you've had now that you've been announced as the Academy winner, but nothing quite like the pressure you must have felt. Or is that the most pressure you've ever felt in your life? Welcome to the show.
I think it was only really the last day, once I was waiting for the actual announcement of who won, that I was feeling the most stress. Like when I was competing, it's me against myself. But once you're done, you're just waiting. You don't know if you've done enough or not. So at that point, it's just pure anxiety and stress.
Nobody can relate more than you as to how Mattia must feel. You can be joyful for yourself and still feel heartbroken for him.
Yeah, right when right when they said my name, I was like, like I was so happy, but at the same time, he's standing right beside me and I can only imagine how he's feeling because really I was picturing myself in his shoes if it was going the other way around.
Was the mental part of Zwift Academy tougher than the physical part? I mean, like being around the guys on that team, that's a no-joke World Tour team, the way they operate. I mean, when you see them, how they manage things, you get a feel for what real precision and responsibility are about.
Yeah, I mean, the mental side was definitely a factor, but I mean, this year I competed at a similar level, just in another discipline. So most of these races I went to with similar stress, but also having to make sure everything was very precisely done. So honestly, I would say for myself, it was mostly the physical side of just being able to recover and keep going.
So you come from a background that, I mean, to tell you the truth, when we've been discussing this with Rebecca and everybody with our Zwift, the podcast element, I mentioned that you're my favorite right off the bat just because you worked in a bike shop, right? As a bike shop person, there's a certain culture to that. And you're kind of like a mountain bike grommet kid, right? Isn't that fair to say that it finds out that you've got this talent and then the future leads you to World Tour, but is your heart in mountain biking?
I still haven't really gotten the season going and gotten we'll say my road career actually started. So for now, I'd still say yes, because I haven't really gotten into it. Yeah, it's different. It's interesting. And yeah, I'm excited to see what I can do.
So historically, there's one thing about bike shops is you talk a lot about bike racing. Were you a mechanic or a sales guy, or what was your role in the shop?
I started off as a sales guy. There honestly wasn't much talking when I started because I started peak COVID and it was so busy that it was just nonstop going to talk to customers. What do you want? And get it done because there was a line down the block. But over the years, the last couple of years, it was switching more towards a mechanic because I would come back from my winter training camps in the spring and service would be jammed. So it's good. I learned a lot on how to maintain my bikes because I wouldn't have my own mechanic at the World Cups when I was in Europe. So if I had an issue, I learned how to solve everything. So it was good.
That's actually huge, right? That kind of mentality, I would think. When you went into it, were you locked in right from the get-go when you showed up?
I would say I was pretty locked in. I knew that my circumstances were less ideal than the other contestants coming from North America and with such a long travel day. But I knew that I'd done a good build and was coming in with good fitness. So I just knew that I had to just be ready to compete every day. I didn't have to be rude to everybody. But yeah, I was just going to let the legs do the talking.
How much did you feel once you got into the mix there that your personality and the way you get along with others was going to be making a difference in the evaluation? It wasn't just going to be a bunch of physical tests.
I didn't know if it was going to be a massive factor. I know that in my opinion, I'm a big team player, so it could only help me. I'm not overly loud. So yeah, I didn't think the only way it can really go is that it hurts you. And I didn't think that my personality would hurt the way that people felt about me.
When you look at the challenge that you had in front of you, so many different facets there, did you feel like you were checking all the boxes as it went along? I mean, what was, I guess, the biggest, if you could go back and change a moment during the entire Zwift Academy?
I mean, you don't want to crash, but in my opinion, that wasn't the issue for me. I would have liked my threshold to have been a bit higher. I don't know why. The body just felt in the first day when we did the threshold testing and then the fatigued 4-minute. The 4-minute was fine. For some reason, once I was told to go all in, brain clicked. I was struggling quite a bit for some reason.
Yeah, I can only imagine, again, going back to that pressure. Had you done any esports racing before you went to Zwift Academy? Had you dabbled with it? Were you, what level Zwifter were you?
I don't know what level specifically I was. I think in the 40s, but it's taken me many years. I had done esports, like just Zwift races during COVID, because that's how I got into training and everything. And with my coach, he didn't actually like the Zwift stuff and that much, but I convinced him that I wanted to do it. And I learned the aspect of the game side of it. on how to race better and all that. And I actually raced the esports world champs in 2022, January. I just played a team role in that race and ended up, I think, in the 30s or the 40s after working the whole race for our leader.
There's an old saying, this goes back many, many years. I wonder if you've ever heard it before. They say that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Definitely had the preparation part. And I guess really Zwift kicks in with the opportunity part in this thing. And you've seen successful candidates like Neve or Jay that have gone on to do quite well in the next level. It's got to be encouraging for someone in your spot. How excited are you to have this mega opportunity? Is there an element of be careful what you wish for? Because people don't realize how hard it is to be in the world tour.
Yeah, like for me, it's difficult to describe the level of excitedness or just like happiness to have this opportunity. I've worked, like everybody works so hard to get to this point and get the opportunity. So I'm like extremely grateful. But yeah, there's definitely also a side of pressure that it's not just joining the team because the team picks you. You won something, so there's more eyes on you. And yeah, I really want to succeed, but I don't want to succeed just to prove people wrong. I want to succeed because I want to build a career.
I think it's you in the show, or one of your colleagues there that talks about, you want to be, actually, you know what? It was the young German man Frederick talking about you want to be confident, but not too confident. Kind of like that Barbie movie, actually, what Barbie talks about. And it is such a fine line there with confidence, but not being cocky. And but when you look at the guys that are already on team, you can really feel that confidence. It oozes out of them, doesn't it?
Yeah, some guys, they've just been at that level for so long. They've won the big races, and you can just see that, well, they walk the walk.
They talked about in Zwift Academy during the GCN broadcast about how the lead out train is sort of the position that they were looking for. Do you think that's going to be the case for you? Will they try to slot you in that type of a role, or is that undefined?
I think it's undefined at the moment. I think I have the qualities of being able to punch at the end of a race that I can fit in. I'm still on the lighter side compared to some of the riders that really do the big races and do those big lead outs. But I can definitely help control the race for them, in my opinion. Like I can, if breakaways go and they need to be brought back, that's where I'll probably fit in the best.
Feels like you've embraced what being on a team in road cycling really means. That's important, isn't it? To understand that you're not here to go out and win your first World Tour race in the first week, are you? That might be doing things wrong if you go in with that mindset.
Well, I mean, also just knowing the level that I'm currently at, my winter preparation wasn't the best, especially since Zwift Academy happened so late in the year. But yeah, like I don't expect to go win the first block. I don't really expect to make people go, wow. But I know that I'm here to work for the team, and hopefully I can help the team.
Going back to Spain and the actual Zwift Academy, that was a few months ago now. How hard was it to keep the secret? I couldn't, to tell you the truth. I would have told the guys at the bike shop as soon as I got back. I would have been like, you guys can't say anything, but I won. How hard was that for you?
Like people knew because, well, I had friends in Europe, and there's so many industry people that just, although I don't slip up, other people slip up, and then just I got random messages. I'd go ride with my friends. So I'd be on my Canyon, and it's like, I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know how I got this.
Hey, that's one of your first challenges of being professional, right? Was keeping the secret.
I mean, so many of my friends also got pro contracts this year on the mountain bike side, so it's like it was the same thing. They can't say anything, but
yeah, and there's got to be a certain pride in understanding that this is a new level that you've arrived at. Have you changed as a person in the last few months? Are you taking yourself more seriously now, or do you have higher expectations for yourself? I know that's a hard question maybe to answer, but I don't know. Have your expectations for yourself changed?
Not really. Last year, honestly, is when I really started to dial everything in. I focused more on my sleep, my diet, the fueling aspect of that. Now there's a reason. Now it's more, if it's raining outside, well, guess what? You're going outside.
Maybe it makes it easier in that way, Noah, where it's like now there's no question. You don't really get to decide. It's your job. You're going to go work. You can't let Matthew down. That's for sure here. Okay, so final question. I really appreciate your time here, too. I know I can only imagine how much you've had going on. So this has been fantastic. And for everybody at the Zwiftcast, just want to say thanks for your time. The thing that I love most about cycling is the places it takes you and the people that you meet along the way, Noah. It's such a journey. What are you looking forward to outside of the racing part? Have you decided, I assume you're going to base yourself in Europe for a while? And what are the big changes on that front, on the life report?
I mean, just for this year at least, I'm really excited to be independent, live in a different place and meet new people, because I've mostly been, although I've lived in Europe in the summer, I haven't actually had a stable place where I've lived all year round, and maybe I go race for a week or two, but then I come back and I live in Europe.
Yeah, not have to fly across the ocean. Where do you see yourself being based?
Girona.
Good call.
Most likely.
Perfect. Yeah. If I could then, I think I know the answer now. If I could give you the gift of automatically knowing a language, just you know this language now, would you choose Spanish?
Yeah. I mean, I speak English and French already, so Spanish is the third big one that would be good to know.
Hey, Noah, good luck this year. We're going to be tracking you. Can't wait to see how it goes.
Thank you.
Ride on.
Dave, I so enjoyed those two conversations and just absorbing that absolute excitement, because these riders knew they were going to go far in this competition, but to actually seal the deal, to take that crown, it is absolutely huge. And something that Emily's conversation with you got me thinking about is just how young we're seeing riders, especially in the women's peloton at the moment, coming into the World Tour level. And I've recently spoken to Kat Ferguson, who knew at 17 she'd go into the World Tour. In fact, I think at the time, the youngest ever. And then Pfeiffer Georgie was doing her A-levels when she signed for the World Tour back when she did. And I just think the maturity, these riders, to take this on at that age, I mean, I can't even imagine it. Can you?
No, definitely not personally, but I definitely see how she is more than prepared for what she's got in front of her. She's got a great head on her shoulders. She really does. A fascinating person. So it's really exciting to see the opportunities, and she talks about that as well, how these opportunities are few and far between. So to see somebody who's really enthusiastic about making the most of it, and she's had some tremendous success already. I mean, she's already been on the podium getting jerseys at Spanish Cup races as a QOM, and it's truly impressive. There's no doubt about it. They're both serious about what they're doing too. They seem so well prepared for the task at hand. I mean, yeah, we talked about that in the Noah interview about how, Alpecin is a team that they're all business when it comes down to it. And Noah is ready for that. You get the feeling. He's also connected, and they both seem to have maybe the most important thing, Rebecca, is they have a safety net already. I felt that with Noah talking about his mountain bike community, and they both aren't just on an island out there. And that's one of the things I appreciate about Zwift too, is they make sure that these Zwift Academy winners are going to be set up for success. They're not going to be thrown into the deep end of the pool where traditionally when Americans would go over and race in Europe, you're doing it on your own. You'd be living with a family. It would be very lonely. And, even in the era when Skype came along, it still was a tough existence. You had to have a thick skin. And not that you don't need all of those attributes now, but definitely Zwift is set, like Emily is living with Maddie LaRue, who is the previous year's winner. So she kind of gets to benefit from, the accelerated learning process that Maddie has been through in her first year in the World Tour. So, yeah, it's just really, really cool that Zwift supports stuff like this, and these athletes are going to make the most of it. You're right. They found worthy riders for the coveted jobs that were on the line.
And as you say, it's evolved so much year on year, and Zwift have just refined that process to absolute perfection. It's incredible. Now, Dave, next up on the calendar is Zwift Community Live. And I know you're going to be out there on the ground bringing us all the latest. And we're going to have a bit of a special bumper episode, aren't we, in a couple of weeks' time. Can you whet our appetite? What's going to be happening out there?
Yeah, it's going to be incredible, isn't it? And I, as a super fan, I'm looking forward to Matt Stevens talking with Chris Hoy on the final night of Zwift Community Live. There's going to be fireside chats, and Matt will be leading that. I'm going to have a chance to jump in and talk with Kristin Armstrong on the first night. She is an amazing, amazing woman, and her story will resonate with everybody there for sure. So I heard there's 35 different club leaders from the community, and I'm going to guess that I talked to 35 of them, to tell you the truth. Can't wait. I know, obviously, Rebecca, we were going to miss you. You just had the baby. There's a lot going on in your life, but next year we'll have you there.
I was just going to say, I'm feeling pretty jealous, but you're going to have the best time. And I'll join you in the small matter of a year's time.
And also, Rebecca, I know we both have Zwift rides. I've been using mine on the daily, to tell you the truth. So I am prepared for at least the C group level rides every day. And that's going to be a big part of this experience, is getting out on bikes with our Zwift Fitness to enjoy riding in Spain.
Dave, thank you so much. Pleasure as always.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Ride on.
And just like that is all we've got time for, but we will be back again in 2 weeks with that special episode from Zwift Community Live in Mallorca. Dave's off now to get a flight to the Sunshine Island, and I'll be holding the fort here in wet and windy Britain. In the meantime, from me, Dave, and the whole team behind the scenes, it's bye-bye for now.